You are listening to Insights with Kathleen. Please join me while I share my insights and experiences with the hope to inspire you to look inside of yourself for the answers that you already have. As with all information we receive, take what speaks to you and leave the rest. Welcome back.
Hola, people.
I feel like I say that all the time. Welcome back.
Well, we want to welcome them back.
But I really mean it.
She means it every single time, guys. Yes. And I mean it when I say, thank you for having me here. Hello.
Hello. So, Sherry, what's on your mind today?
So, Kathleen, I'll tell you what's on my mind.
I look forward to you telling me what's on your mind.
All right. It's kind of, I don't know if it's big, but it's more so one of those things where I need to condense it, right? So, my question this week is how to balance different types of relationships. And I'll just go into my example, right? Mm-hmm. So I had a family member. And I think I told a friend of mine, like, hey, you know, my laundry bag was missing, whatever. So she got me another one. And my aunt was just really, really offended. She was like, how dare you? I can't believe you went to this, like, not stranger, but this other person outside the family and not me. And they tried to make me feel guilty about it. And I didn't really, I wasn't having it. I was just like, you know what? I need time to cool off because I'm really frustrated with that interaction, how that happened. And then, my aunt later talked to me and was like, yeah, I just felt like, jealous because I'm your aunt and I'm family and they're not family, and it's almost this like disloyalty thing kind of going on. And I just had the question of like, I love my aunt, I do, but I feel like, because my friend got me the bag and I was like, oh, look what my friend got me, and they did this and that, and I feel like I couldn't even share that with her because she got so jealous about it.
Right.
So my question to you is like, how do you balance like different types of relationship? Because like for the most part, when I was like younger and even now, I would meet someone and I felt like I had to tell them everything about me. I thought I had to be like, well, it's disingenuous not to tell them about me. Or not like, how's it going? Or some people will kind of put those expectations on like, oh, we're this status of friendship, so you have to tell me everything, or we have to be open with each other. So I'm starting to learn that that's not the best option, but I always feel guilty when I don't do it. So, thoughts?
Yeah. So that's a lot.
Yeah, I told you. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay. We're just gonna break it apart a little bit.
Right.
So let's go back. Let's go back to the bag.
Right.
All right. Because I feel like that's a little different than the last part.
Right.
So when you have a relationship with someone,
right,
whether it's parental, an aunt, uncle, a sibling,
right,
like no matter what that is, because they're close, right?
Right.
And what I mean by close is that you're living with those people. They have certain expectations of not just how you should behave, but they even believe they have certain expectations around their belief of who you are.
Right.
I know personally I've had to deal with that, and it never lined up with who I thought I was.
Right.
And knowing that you have a very loving heart, right? So you already know that. So you know that about you. You know you don't mean any malice towards anyone.
Right.
All you want to do is just make people happy. You just want them all to be happy and play nice. So when somebody approaches you, much like your aunt did, right? And they're feeling defensive. So I think step one is to recognize.
Right.
Oh, this coming at me, this really has nothing to do with me.
Ah.
Right. So I know that when I approach those kinds of things with that lens,
right,
because I know I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And that's about a confidence thing. It's about feeling secure in oneself. Self-love.
Right.
We've talked about that before too. Feeling the feels, like doing those check-ins, right, with ourselves, and then practicing that self-love, practicing those boundaries. So if we have all these things in place, like our personal boundaries, and that's being respectful and loving of ourselves, it's being selfish in the right way.
Right.
So then when you're faced with somebody with this behavior that your aunt is displaying, because again, it's behavior, it's not her as a person, it's just how she's acting. And that's when all right, I have all these things in place, so I'm going to look at this and say, oh, you know what, this is totally her suffering.
Right.
She's the one who has an issue for whatever reason, whether she's feeling guilty, whether she feels like she didn't show up right, or somehow not providing, or a distorted idea of what the relationship really is.
Right.
So we can still approach that with a certain level of compassion.
Right.
And sometimes you can just let them hear it out, and you can just say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sure that this was not meant to make you feel this way. Or would you like to tell me a little bit more about why you're feeling this way?
Right.
You know, so you have to read it almost. It's kind of like you have to read it. There's nothing wrong with you feeling salty about it when you walked away and you needed to process it and take that moment. There's nothing wrong with that. That just means there's a trigger in you. And that means then you need to take that time to feel it out and say, okay, why is that reaction bothering me so much? Where am I feeling tied up into that?
Right.
And then once you realize how that affects you, then you can find your center again, and then maybe hopefully have a further discussion. And it's really great that she came back and said, hey, I just realized this is really what was going on. So it sounds like she's pretty enlightened, or learning to be enlightened about herself.
Right.
You know, and sometimes too, when it's a close relative who's watched you grow up. Right. And who's been a part of that growing up piece of your life. Right. It's really hard for them to do that transition into recognizing that you're your own person. You're your own adult. Right. You're not the child anymore.
Oh, yes. That's a very big one.
Yeah. And that's hard. And through my experience, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Let me try to get this word out.
You got it. I have faith in you.
It's been through my experience that people within like your age group right now are fighting against some parental people, whether it be parents, aunts, uncles, whomever those people can be. There's adults in their life who still sees them as the child. Right. So that adult is having a hard time with the transition. So when that person's showing up in that way, that's just them displaying, oh my goodness, the world's changing. The world's changing way too fast. Look, this person's not a 3-year-old anymore. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do with myself? Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Wah! You know what I mean? So that's where like having that enlightenment about ourselves and having all those other things set up for ourselves and having those boundaries, practicing the self-love so that we're showing up for us and we know that our actions are, is this loving of me? Is this loving of others? Like we're taking into account all of that. So when that person is in our face saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe, why didn't you tell me? Why are you telling strangers? And it's like, well, first of all, it's not like I'm talking about my dirty laundry.
Right.
But I mean, I kind of am, but I'm not. You know what I mean?
It's a laundry bag, but not actual laundry.
You know, it's looking at the perspective of it. Like if it's a tiny little thing, it's not like, you know, somebody bought you a car.
That would set someone over the edge.
Oh my goodness, it'd be like, what are they doing? What are you doing for them? Oh my goodness.
Right. Yeah, and I was gonna, you know, I love that point that you made, like almost about like the transition into like, you know, childhood into adulthood. And I noticed a strong like thing in my family, or just culturally speaking in my family. And I learned this when I was doing intercultural communications, and like with my specific family and their culture, like, you are eternally like a child. Like they're not like, oh, you transitioned to adulthood. It's like, well, you're still my child. I don't know if you've met people like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different cultures that have that same kind of outlook. Right. And it's tough on the moms too. Right. You know, it really is. And I'm sure it's tough on whoever the breadwinner is there too. It's like, okay, when can I cut this one loose so we can have some extra cash?
Right.
When is this no longer my job?
Right. You stay for. I know.
Well, you know, here's the thing. When I talk to other peers of mine who are parental figures themselves, right, and they're having a hard time letting go. Right. No, but that's my child. I don't want him ever to leave the house. No. They gotta forever stay here. I mean,
God, they say though.
They do because their identity is wrapped up in you, or they're wrapped up into the child.
Right.
And they forgot how to be just them, how to be themselves without you. Like where's my identity? Kind of like how you shared last episode when you're talking about your podcast, right?
Right.
Yeah, and you had your identity all wrapped up in that. Well, parents sometimes will wrap their identity up into their child.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how old that child is, they still somehow feel wrapped up in it.
Right.
So like my ex-husband's family is a great example. His mom, in my experience, his mom didn't know where she stopped and started and the kids began.
Okay.
So like when things were really bad and it was just the right choice, the right decision to divorce.
Right.
Because it was just a healthier decision across the board.
Right.
She thought I was divorcing her.
Oh.
You know, because she just didn't know where it stopped and started.
Right.
So there are a lot of parents who are that way. And some of it is, like you were saying, a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And some of it is just that it's an insecurity thing. It's a thing
I
about not
that.
taking time to embrace oneself. But more importantly, I think sometimes the perspective is a little skewed.
Right.
So when I talk to them, I say to them, listen, I always wanted to be a mom.
Right.
Always did. Even when I was a kid in school, like I always knew I wanted to be a mom.
Nice.
But I also knew that my job was temporary. Knowing that when I bring this life, when I open myself up to be willing to bring a life into the world,
right,
that life emerges into the world and I'm caring for that life, knowing that what I'm doing is setting a foundation for the adult that this young life is one day going to be.
Right.
Also setting the expectation that when that young child becomes an adult, I'm letting go.
Right.
You know, and I joke with my kids all the time. Okay, we're close. We're getting close now. So I'm ready to let go. Okay?
Push them out of the
nest. And then I have friends yelling at me, "Are you kidding me? I can't get my kid to stay home and you're trying to get yours to leave. Are you kidding me?" and like I joke with mine about that. I mean, I want to be supportive of them the best way that I can be.
Of course.
And the best way to set that foundation is for me first to remember where I start and stop.
Right.
Right. What's my responsibility here?
Right.
And giving them opportunities and giving them the space to have experiences so they could build their confidence, so they know that they could go and carry on as really good, viable adults. Right.
Right.
But then when you have that contrast, kind of like what you are experiencing with an aunt, right?
Right.
Who maybe doesn't know where her niece starts and stops. Right. And feeling like she needs to be here to help provide for your family in some way.
Yeah.
And I guess the grace that we can offer them is to say, hey, I'm not really sure what you're going through right now, but please know it's really okay.
It's fine. It'll be okay.
It's all going to be fine.
Right.
It's all good.
Right.
Nobody died today.
That's good. That's good. You know, I think I could even say the same thing about myself with my own parental units. It's almost like where do I stop and where do they start? Because, you know, my identity was like, you know, because me and my mom are close, like it would be almost wrapped up in my mom. And it's almost like whenever I'd introduce her to someone or something, it's almost like, oh, we both have to go as a group here, or we have to all approve of the same people. And I'm slowly starting to be like, oh, I'm my own person. And there's actually things that I don't like that much that she enjoys. So I'm trying really hard to do that. It's hard.
It is hard. And parents, I love this. Another friend of mine always said, hey, you know, as parents, we place the buttons into our children, the buttons we can push that sets our kids off.
Right.
Or hopefully on the more positive side that kind of motivates them.
Right.
For as much as we put those buttons into them, they put buttons into us. Okay? So they know how to push our buttons. And, excuse me. So being mindful of that, I think, is helpful too. And as a young adult, right, you're in a unique place. And now with this perspective, you could probably really help what any other adult in your life. I don't know why I'm tripping over all these words today. Any other adult within your life who needs that added little support, if you will, and I'm quoting it.
Air quotes, guys. Air quotes. She's doing it.
is that because now you have that perspective, you have more grace for that person.
Right.
And then you can help steer and say, hey, look, when do I get to be the adult?
I would like that.
I mean, you guys, first of all, another way could be, adult person in my life, you did such a fabulous job bringing me up. You were so influential into the person that I am that I think I'm ready to be a full-on adult now. Do you think maybe you can let me just give it a go?
I would like to do
now,
that.
I'm being a smarty pants right now, but you kind of know what I'm saying.
Right? I do. It's funny because when the friend got me that laundry bag, I really came back with it with love, and instead of being mad, I was a little upset because that comment took me off guard. But then we talked about it, and then I said, "Hey, isn't it so nice that your kid is so beloved by so many people that they're giving them these little gifts? You raised a really good kid.
Good job."
And they're I didn't.
And then you melted that person by saying that, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was nice, and it was almost like it was almost an insecurity with me and my aunt of the relationship, because they're like, well, this person's gonna replace me, and I'm like, everyone's a different flavor though.
Yes.
So don't worry, it's not like the same flavor is replacing you.
Our hearts are not that small.
Right. I like that saying. That should be a quote somewhere. I love that.
Okay, write it down. No, I'm kidding.
She's not
so
kidding.
now for the other piece that you were saying.
Right.
Remind me of that one, because I talked so much I forgot already.
No, it's okay. It's okay, because this question that you just answered helped me figure out my second question of trying not to, almost setting boundaries for yourself with friendships and relationships, because growing up I was taught, well, you have to not be selfish, you have to give people all of you. So when I would make friendships, I would give everything that I had to all these people, and then they would leave.
And some of that, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Some of that's about discernment.
Right.
So so from part A, right, all that stuff I said, plus
caveat,
plus that discernment piece, right?
Right.
If there's nothing wrong with keeping some things to yourself.
Right.
Different relationships come at different levels. You don't want everybody to be your best friend, because then you're constantly being exposed, and then you run the danger of really being hurt.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah. So, and it should be a privilege. Not that people have to earn it, but there should be a level of respect that comes back and forth, and comfort on your part, right? So getting back to those feels, right? Following your gut. And if you feel like you have to force and you have to put all this energy into, oh, well, I have to share, so, because that's what we do. Well, then that might be time to just take a step back and say, okay, what do I really want from this relationship?
Right.
Am I really in sync with this person?
Right.
Can I relate to them? Do I trust them?
Right.
Right. So you only want to share certain information with people you trust, right?
Of course.
So is this an acquaintance where we're just like, hey, the weather was great, and hey, did you watch that game today? And blah, 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 blah. And what?
Well, I have one question, right? Okay. So I guess the question I had for myself is, when I would make these friendships, because I'm not a guarded person, but I'm like, okay, I don't like to go into things too quickly. And some people will be like, we are friends, we are going to be best friends. They almost set the parameters without asking me, and I don't like that.
Well, did you know that somebody can consider you as their best friend, but you don't need to consider them as being your best friend?
That's actually so liberating.
Right? And it's true. Just because somebody claims that they are your best friend, and I have this. I have a very lovely, lovely close friend, and to me, she's my best friend. I feel like I could tell her everything and anything, and she's probably one of the first people I would go to.
Oh, that's so nice.
It is. But I'm not her best friend. And I know that.
Right.
She has a lifelong friend that she grew up with and went to elementary school with, and she's the first person that my best friend will go to.
Right.
And that's okay.
I like that.
That's okay, because she's still showing up for me.
Right.
And it's a label.
Right.
Right? And it really is just about, it's kind of like, we're in school again. We're in elementary school, and you're my best friend.
See, I would get that a lot, and then I got it, and I got it too much, and then they'd be like, yes, you're my best, and then people would fight it. It was a whole big thing, but it just made me very uncomfortable, because they're like, you have to reciprocate that back to me. Tell people that we're best friends, and I'm like, Jesus. That's so much. That's so much. I don't want to say that.
Yeah, but that's also about setting your boundary.
Right.
Just because other people put expectations out there,
right,
and they're gonna set what they believe it should be, it doesn't mean you have to agree to it.
Right.
You know, you're not their prisoner.
That's nice. that's really nice.
And they're not the boss of you.
Right. And it's I don't know. It's not something I always think about. So they'll be like, yeah, Sherry, you're mine. And I'm like, I'm just going with the flow, man. I just have like a group of close friends that I talk to regularly.
You know what? You're big enough. You're a big enough person. You're a big enough presence that others may claim you as their best friend. It does not mean you need to claim them back.
That's nice. That's actually really relieving to hear. Because as silly as that sounds, like that would be a thing a lot, especially when I was like in college. It would be like, oh, who's yours? And I'd be scared to say it, because then people would be like, wait, but you're mine. What's going on? And it's like a whole thing. And I'm like,
yeah, and some of it's about maturity too.
Right.
Right. And then as we continue on, and look at it this way, maybe it's a learning that you're going to be teaching people too, if you so choose to. Right. Like if you feel strong enough to say, hey, well, you know, this person's coming at me and saying that they're that I'm their best friend, and they want to know who my best friend is.
Jesus.
Yeah. That would be Gabriel. Thank you.
Gabriel's great.
There's many ways you can handle it, right?
Right.
Then depending on who the person is, you can laugh it off. You can be like, "Are you real? Are you for real right now?" You know, or you can just say, "Oh, thank you so much. That's so very sweet." And yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. I mean, I'm like, there's many ways. Many
I'll
ways.
get back to you on that. I love that. It helps me not get in my head as much. Because it's nice to, like, you know, start these friendships and, like, just kind of go with the flow. Because whenever I hear, like, a label, it almost is like, well, I don't even know if I like you that much anyway. And also, just, I don't know. It's just, I'm making emotion with my hands. I don't know what I'm trying to do.
Chopping it.
It's almost like a wall, right?
Yes.
It's almost like you know what? Let's just we're close friends. That's what I always say. I'm like, oh, here's my group of close friends.
Or you know, one of my favorite lines. Hey man, it is what it is.
You're my best friend. It is what it is.
Now I'm just being silly.
I do like that line a lot. It's nice. It's neutral.
Well, right? It is.
It is.
It is.
Because I don't want to be over here like, oh God, no. But
or I am. I am that I am.
I am. And then it almost sets these expectations, because sometimes I don't, you know, I'll have a friend and sometimes they'll, you know, put these expectations on and I'm like, oh, now I'm stressed out.
Yeah. And that's really their expectation. It only becomes your expectation if you're going to receive it.
Right.
But you can see from what they're laying down, then you can have that level of grace and compassion towards them, knowing, oh my goodness, they've now set down this expectation, which really could come back and bite them in some way.
Right.
So then it's definitely approaching it with a loving heart, an open heart. It doesn't mean that you need to reciprocate by any means. You can just tell the person that you're very honored, you know, with that declaration. And you'll definitely keep that within confidence, you know, and that's all you need to say. And if they push it, well, then that also gives you a window into their own maturity. Right. So then you just measure it from there and say, okay, where do I want to go next with this? But under no circumstances should you ever feel like you need to be their best friend back, or you need to share all your deepest secrets. Because I remember you sharing with me an acquaintance that you came across, and they were so eager to want to hear all your deepest little concerns, all your problems, so they can solve them for you. Right. Well, to me, that's a red flag, right?
Right.
That's a person who's feeling less about themselves and looking for others to help them to feel better.
Right.
Instead of them going with inside of themselves and doing that feel piece and taking stock of them and saying, okay, how can I self-love me so that I don't need to be over here trying to pull stuff out of other people, judge them, and give them my verdict.
Right.
So, and that's where the wisdom comes in. That's where the discernment comes in. So when you're exposed to different people who are coming with expectations, you know, that's an opportunity for us to step back and say, okay, where do I really want to play here?
Right. No, that makes sense, because it's funny, because like the people who were pushing me to say like, tell me you're my best friend, they all came with like a similar kind of energy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was insecurity or what, but like it was almost the same. Like, you have to tell me your secrets. We have to hang out this amount of times a week. We have to, it's a lot of we have to, not a lot of, I want to. There was barely any I want tos. And like when we would hang out, it would be like well, Sherry, we haven't seen each other for X amount of time. We have to hang out. And I'm like, yeah, but I have nothing to tell you.
Well, another way, like if people are really saying I have to, it's the smarty pants in me too. So
all right, smarty pants, let's go.
So for anything, really anything,
right?
Somebody comes at you, well, we have to, and just look at them and go, but do we really? And if we have to, do we really want to? Right. So ask the question. So, well, you're saying we have to, that makes me feel like you really don't want to, but you feel like you need to.
Right.
So I'm kind of looking for the want to.
Right.
And even for us personally, like when we're having certain dialogues, like with other people or conversing with ourselves or with others,
right.
Be mindful of every time you say, I have to.
Right.
And maybe encourage yourself to change it to, I either need to or I want to.
Right.
Right. Because like, I need to take my daughter to the doctors instead of saying, I have to take my daughter to the doctors. You see how that feels differently?
Right. It hits different.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Because, Sherry is a very friendly person, if you couldn't tell. And Sherry just wants to spread her love everywhere. So, I would make these friendships, and then oh, poor Sherry. So she would she would have her calendar booked for months in advance, because people were like, well, we have to do this. We have to go here. We have to go there. And I didn't know how to say no. So now I have all these friends that I didn't even really want to hang out with, and a calendar that's so full, I don't even have time to take care of myself.
I'm tired.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Aw.
Yeah, but now I'm just, now listening to this and you telling me this, I've been doing it more myself, but I've been discerning like, all right, instead of saying I have to hang out with so-and-so, who do I want to hang out with?
Nice.
And once you get the pile and you get the have to into want tos, it makes the pile smaller, so it's more manageable, and you love your time more, which is extra good, and you have more time for yourself to do things that you like.
Talk about balance.
Right? It's so nice.
Very nice.
Somebody was telling me sometimes it's not about what you should do, almost about what you shouldn't do. So I guess elaborating on that, it's like hey, you don't need to hang out with all these different people. You don't have any obligations to them. So just do this stuff you want to do.
There you go.
Just do that.
Well, yeah, and I think the bottom line is to all of this is that we're really here to have fun. We're here to live in joy.
I like having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love joy. I don't want to feel like I have to do anything. I don't want to be weighed down by someone else's expectations or injuries or insecurities, right?
Right.
I can still have love and compassion for them.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that they get to control.
Right.
They don't get to control my life. They don't get to control my decisions.
I know. It's so nice because you always tell me, sure, just do things the want to method. And ever since I did that, I'm like, wow, I actually enjoy my time more throughout the day. I actually don't not that I dreaded it, but it's like, oh, now I'm excited for this week. I'm excited to do this.
Well, I'll tell you, it works with chores too. I mean, because let's face it, in order to live healthy, our homes need to be clean, right?
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to clean the bathroom today. Well,
I want to clean the bathroom.
Not that I want to, but I need to. right? Because nobody really wants to, but I need to.
Yeah.
And that still feels way lighter than saying I have to, because I have to is like it's drudgery. It's like, oh.
Right.
It's where, well, I need to. Well, I do. I need to do that to take care of me.
Right.
And my family.
And the family.
And the family. So, how do you feel about that? Did we hit it enough? Did we need to dive a little deeper into something else? Or
no, I love that. The only like analogy I'm getting is when my dad would go to Wawa, right? He did this really annoying thing, and he would drink the water bottle, then pay for it. And that's the equivalent to like, I have to do something. Whereas you get the water bottle, you pay for it, and it's I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like, no, I think I lost it. I think I don't have it. I was basically saying it just feels like nicer to pay for it and then be like, oh yeah, I paid for it. There's the reward. But then like, you know, if you already drank, it's like, well, now you don't even get the reward. You drank it, you already experienced it, and now you're just paying for it. And it just, I don't know. I always thought that was a sucky feeling, but yeah, no, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you.
Of course. Always tip your waiters.
Yes. Yes. We'll be back again next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good night. Thank you for tuning in. Remember that you are bigger than anything that you are going through or anything that is happening around you.